about you being gone is I can watch the game all day long, and I can stretch my legs out in the bed, extra pillow underneath my head. I don't know why nobody ever told me about the upside of lonely. I got a lot more room for my stuff, and I only have to wash one cup. I can stay up late and play my guitar, and the groceries go twice as far. I don't know why nobody ever told me about the upside of lonely. Your girlfriends ain't ringing the phone off the wall. I never have to hear from that mother-in-law. Ain't cut the grass since the middle of June. I smoke a big cigar up in my living room. Don't know why nobody ever told me about the upside of lonely. The clothes right on the floor, let the trash pile up right by the door. Eat pizza and ice cream 3 times a day, 'cause I ain't worried about watching my weight. I don't know why nobody ever told me about the upside of lonely. Yeah, man, just think about all the good things about you being gone. Stretch out here at home. Hey, man, come on in. Don't mind the muddy shoes on the white carpet. She ain't here. You hungry? Hey, man, I got some food if you want to eat. I got a microwave oven with little pictures on the front of it. You just pick what you want to eat and push the button, and it will cook it for you. Yeah, man, you can smoke that cigar up here in the kitchen. Just use that vase over there. Need something to drink? We got beer, bourbon, whiskey, scotch, Diet Coke, Fanta. Yeah, man, I bet you've been on the road for a minute. Bathroom's right down the hall. Switches on the left, doors on the right. Just remember to leave the lid up. Leave it up. Well, top of the evening to you. And I want to wish everybody a happy St. Paddy's Day out there. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Brian Nova, on our YouTube live show. And tonight we're going to have, joining us on St. Paddy's Day, the one and only Mr. Jori Chisholm will be joining us, one of the world's great elite bagpipers. Piper down! Anyway, we're going to get started with our little show. Birthdays. today is Nat King Cole's birthday, one of my heroes. So I thought, what better to do than to have Nat King Cole tune. So, want to hear it? Here it is. It's only a paper moon hanging over a cardboard sea, but it wouldn't be make-believe if you believed in me. It is only a canvas sky sailing over a muslin tree, but it wouldn't be make-believe if you believed in me. Without your love, it's honky-tonk parade. Without your love, it's a melody played on a penny arcade. It's a Barnum and Bailey world, it's as phony as it can be, but it wouldn't be make-believe if you believed in me. a paper moon hanging over a cardboard sea. But it wouldn't be make-believe if you believed in me. It's only a canvas sky sailing over a muslin tree. But it wouldn't be make-believe if you believed in me. Without your love, it's a honky-tonk parade. Without your love, it's a melody played on a penny arcade. It's Barnum and Bailey world, just as phony as it can be. But it wouldn't be make-believe if you believed in me. A little bit of Paper Moon. Anyway, folks, happy St. Patrick's Day. Anyway, what do we got to talk about? Well, first and foremost, right here, check us out on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, over here, we have our PayPal tip jar. Check it out. Always appreciated, never expected. And what else we've talked about? We want to say hi to some pals of ours out there in music jazz land. In fact, before I get started with that, I maybe show just a little bit of our the latest, greatest thing here. There it is. I can go this way, I guess, right? And yeah, that is the live bird for the day right here, folks. A little Winston Limited Series 2021, courtesy of some pals of ours up in the Great Northwest, the Ohm family and the Shibazaki family. Thank you guys so much for that. We will burn that down to a crisp later. I guarantee it. Also, we want to say hi to all our friends up at the Churchill Room. Hope you guys are having a wonderful St. Paddy's Day. All of our pals at the Vertigo Club, because I know there's a few Irishmen up there. Eh? And also, a big shout out to all our fans in San Francisco, all our fans down here in the desert, especially our pals Kevin and Mike over at the Mirage Cigar Lounge, where I'll tell you what, today they're acting pretty Irish, I'm pretty sure of it. Also, big shout out to PDT, Palm Desert Tobacco, and it's Mike Burkhalter's birthday. Did you know that, honey? She did. She knows. She's probably the one that told me. Anyway, Mike, we want to wish you guys a happy birthday out there, along with the great Nat King Cole. Who knew? And let's see, who else we got to talk about out there? Hey, good evening, Liz. Liz and Bob up in Seattle, and Vince Littleton. Happy St. Patrick's Day, Vince. Henry Kaiser. Good to hear from you, Henry. Who else we got there, honey? We're just kind of going to go down our list and see who else we got to say hi to. Piper, dude. Yeah, we're going to have a Piper on. Hey, Dave. Happy birthday to you. John Connors. Happy birthday, John. Thanks for listening to Yaz on St. Patrick's Day. Die. We've got John and Gloria down here visiting us, along with our dear pal John Ohm visiting us all the way from lovely, cold, rainy, wet Seattle, Washington, down here enjoying some sun. It's good to have him here with us. And Bob Sky, a big howdy, happy St. Paddy's Day to you too, laddie. And Judy, good to see you there too. Thank you so much. Well, for our next song, I'm going to do one more Nat King Cole kind of impersonation. And it's not really Irish, it's more Scottish. This song was written about, from the play Brigadoon. Dune. It was a play written by Leonard Lowe about a mysterious town that kind of reappears for one day every 100 years. I think is what it is. So, of course, Gene Kelly and Van Johnson have the good fortune of running into Sid Charisse during her once-a-century appearance. And this is one of the songs from that wonderful play, Broadway show, /movie. And Nat Cole was probably the first time I ever heard this. Even before I saw the movie, I was already aware of Nat's version of this particular song. What a day, this has been. What a rare mood I'm in. Why, it's almost like being in love. There's a smile on my face for the whole human race. Why, it's almost like being in love. 'Cause the music of life seems to be like a bell that is ringing just for me. And by the way that I feel when that bell starts to peal, I would swear I was falling, swear I was falling. Why, it's almost like being in love. What a day this has been. What a rare mood I'm in. Why, it's almost like being in love. Well, there is a smile on my face for the whole human race. Why, it's almost like being in love. 'Cause the music of life seems to be like a bell that is ringing just for me. And by the way that I feel when that bell starts to peal, I would swear I was falling. I do declare she was calling. Why, it's almost like being in love. Why, it's almost like being in love. Like being in love. True story, by the way, folks. True story. Anyway, hey, listen, it is, as I said before, St. Paddy's Day. And we've talked about cigars. We've talked about YouTube. We've discussed some of our pals. Want to say hi out there, of course, to all of our dear sponsors, friends over at Long Meadow Ranch. And all of our friends over at... There it is, Long Meadow Ranch in beautiful Napa Valley, California, as well as all of our pals over at Gordon Biersch. So I think we've got most of our commercials out of the way. And now I think it's time to bring on our very, very, very special guest. I'm so thrilled to have him here with us. We've been trying to get Jori on the show for probably better part of half of a year. So it is a treat to have him here. He is the man when it comes to bagpiping all around the world. He has won 4 U.S. gold medal championships. He has played with all of the top flight bands. We'll get more of this. And he's even toured with guys like Bob Weir and his Rat Dog Band. I mean, if there is anybody that embodies pipers, you're going to meet him right here, folks, if you haven't already. Please give a big welcome, big social clap out there for our pal, Jori Chisholm. Jori, how are you?
I'm doing great, Brian. Thanks for having me on. Great to listen to you sing and play there.
Oh, dude, it's all smoke and mirrors at this point, I tell you.
You got it down, man. It's like you're singing right to us. You're looking right in that camera. And it's like,
yeah, well, Sony just puts a cigar above the lens, and I just kind of, or bacon. Sometimes she'll put bacon on a string, and then keeps me very focused. So, what have you been up to? Tell us what.
Oh my God!
Tell us what the quarantine has been like for you as a piper.
Yeah, so it's been. Like a lot of us in different lines of work and different, hobbies, everything's been canceled for a better part of a year now. So the busy time of the year for pipers is pretty much the summer, from around Easter time through the end of the summer, with all the Scottish festivals, the Highland Games. I've been going to Scotland to compete in the championships over there for over 20 years straight. All that's been canceled last summer, and a lot of it sadly is being canceled for this year as well. So,
is that right?
Oh, man. Yep. Yeah. So they're just announcing that a lot of the stuff is being canceled this year, even into later in the summer. So that's been kind of a bummer. So that sort of is part of the whole what all live musicians and festivals and concerts have been going through. In terms of the other part of my piping, I've been teaching online for a really long time. So that, going into this pandemic, had a lot of experience with that. I first started teaching on webcam in 2003. So wow. I was early on into the online teaching thing. The first person teaching bagpipes online, developing online courses, downloadable lessons, all that kind of stuff. So that stuff has really picked up over the last year. And I've been able to help a lot of my buddies in the piping community who are sort of getting into that for the first time. Because of what's going on. So, it's been really busy year. Haven't been traveling, but been home. I got a couple of young kids, so they've been home. My wife's working from home, so a lot of home time, like for everybody. But still doing my music.
How old are your kids?
9 and 6.
Oh my goodness!
So they're Colin
little
and
humans.
They're a lot of fun, and doing some music and some piping here at home. But that's it's been a challenge, but it's been great too.
Man, that sounds wonderful. Yeah. Listen, we want to also. It's bagpipelessons.com, right?
Yeah, that's the website. I registered that 20 years ago,
wow.
And. At that point, websites were pretty basic. It was pretty much like a digital sort of business card with maybe some pictures. And now the internet is so, multimedia and interactive. I'd never imagined that teaching and learning online would be the thing that it is today. But
and yet here we are.
Yeah. So. Yeah, about 8 years ago, I got a call from a reporter at the New York Times who said, or an email, and she was doing an article about online music lessons. So I thought this will be kind of interesting, and I called her back, and we sort of interviewed me, and anyway, next thing that happened was there was a front page story on the New York Times about online music lessons, and this was 9 years ago, and my picture was on the front page of the New York Times, and my website traffic blew up. And I had just been doing my thing and enjoying it and having some success with it. And what I didn't realize was that it was part of this broader thing that had started just about 10 years ago. And now it's, of course, just exploded with Zoom and FaceTime and everything. So I don't know what we would have done over this last year without listening to music and being able to interact with these webcams. I mean, I don't know what we would have done. It's just been a lifeline.
You know, I've thought about that. I have pondered this in my long time being locked down of what it must have been like for 1918 during 1917, 1918 during the first pandemic, when they didn't have this. They didn't have. They barely had TV, I mean, or anything, radio. They had radio. I guess they didn't have TV then.
Yeah.
So it was, I just thought it had to have been a whole different ball game.
Yeah. And, it's been, I think we've all gone through similar things around the world and around the country, but it's been really different for people in terms of how the hardships that we've had to undergo. And in a way, it's sort of a lesson in contrast, where things are really, really different, but then in other ways they're unchanged. It's like we're home, we're in touch with our family and friends on social media and on email and on the webcams, and then we're ordering stuff on Amazon. So in a lot of ways it's very normal, and in other ways it's really been really, really strange to not go anywhere and see people and be within the closeness where people can breathe on you.
I bet. Well, listen, speaking of people breathing on you, I want to play a couple of our videos here, because I just had more fun making these and listening to them. Our first video, I believe, is the four of us playing, which I just loved. This is Jori on, of course, bagpipes. Yours truly on the guitar, with Terry Miller and the wonderful Andy Fraga Jr. on the drums, playing the beautiful hymn, Amazing Grace. Give it a listen. Here we go, boys. I love it. I love it. I love it. You're beautiful, man.
Man, that was really fun.
Hey,
That was
listen,
my
you
first
gotta
time doing
tell
that a cappella. That was great.
you gotta tell me how do you bend? How do you bend those notes like that?
Well, first of all, I have to just warn you, if you're ever gonna, compete in a traditional bagpipe competition, you do not do that. That will get you thrown off the boards in a
I bet
Scottish
it's the same thing with
competition.
jazz guitar. Like in jazz guitar, you don't bend notes. That's
Okay.
for like rockers. They bend the notes.
Yeah, so it's sort of a fun thing that you can do that really stands out because you don't hear it in traditional piping. But the holes on the chanter, that's the part of the pipes where I'm fingering the melody. There's just open holes that you cover with your fingers, so there's no pads or anything. And normally you're going for a really clean lift and a clean close on the hole, but to get that bend, you just slide it off. And yeah, just kind of a cool, fun thing. There's some pipe tunes that are written with those slides in there. Just a nice little thing to have in the arsenal to keep it interesting.
It's so cool. Yeah, dude, I really enjoyed it. Hey, listen, I want to bring one of the guys that play with us, Terry Miller, online here with us. We've got, of course, Carol's husband, Terry Miller, joining us here. There he is. Terry, how are you?
Hey guys, how you doing, Jori?
Great to see you, Terry.
You too. I was just in a bass competition, and you have to bend every note. It's weird. I don't know what it is. So I got a question for you. Can you play two notes at once? I don't know how that works.
Well, you can't play two melody notes. So
Right.
so the chanter, I mean, yeah, I don't think you can play two notes on the clarinet or the saxophone. It's just a single note. Now that being said, the drones each have their own note in the background. So that's
Right.
one of the things that gives a bagpipe that sound is that drone. And
Sure.
So if you go and watch pipers getting ready to perform or in the competition, there'll be a lot of tuning, and there's a lot of tuning the drones because it's so important that they match each other. And
Right,
they're
right.
totally locked in tune and then in with the chanter, because then every note that you play on the chanter is also hopefully blending harmoniously with the drone, right?
Sure. So, but the drone is it usually two notes, three notes, five notes?
You have three drones. You have sort of the one on the chanter is A. We call it A, although it's a little bit sharper than B flat.
Right.
And then one octave below that low A on the chanter are the two tenor drones, and they're both in A. And then the longer drone that's the closest to my head, that's the bass drone. Again, that's A, just one octave below that. On other styles of pipes, you have different combinations of drones. You might have a baritone drone that's an E or a D, like with a 4 or a 5, but usually it's
Right.
just the one.
But they're always stacked in octaves. It's never like a 1-5 or a 1.
On some other styles of pipes, Scottish small pipes or some Irish pipes, they have different drones. But for that instrument that I was just playing with, called the Great Highland Bagpipe, it's just the octave.
Hey,
Right.
pal of ours, Henry, wants to know, it's a great question. How many keys can the bagpipe play in? All the keys? Or is it like the well-tempered clavier where it's a...
Yeah, so the range of... So there's a couple limitations with the bagpipes, three primary ones that I can think of. One is the range is pretty small. So it's 9 notes, which is an octave plus 1.
Wow.
And then you don't have a full chromatic scale. You can get some of the in-between notes with some alternative fingerings, but you can't get all the notes. And then because of the range, it's limited. So you can't, like, for example, you can't do the Star Spangled Banner because you just run out of notes. Dee da 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 dee. Like, that's the highest note.
Right.
And then
right.
pipers will try to like slice it and drop down and go back up, but it just doesn't work with every tune.
Huh.
So what we were just playing, my pipes are in B flat. So that tune is kind of a D tune on the bagpipes, but then it's actually, you guys played an E flat to match with my pipes. I have a set of small pipes that are in concert A. I've also played big pipes in concert A. And then I've played small pipes in D. So mainly they're A, B flat, and D. There are some other pipes from some other countries, like some Spanish pipes are in C, but because of the range and the lack of the fully chromatic scale, I guess the long answer is, you can't do everything on one set of pipes.
Right.
Yeah.
I heard something one time, and and tell me if this makes any sense. So I was talking to a friend of ours, Brett Strader, and there's always, I'm sorry, but there's the joke. It's like, oh my gosh, we're so out of tune. Bagpipes are always so out of tune. And Brett said, actually, they're probably the most in tune instrument there is. And he was talking about the physics of it. He did some study on them. And so does this ring a bell? Does this sound like something that's been?
Yeah. So I'm not sure exactly what he was referring to in that study, but the thing about the bagpipes is if they are properly tuned, they're really, really in tune. Right. And what I mean by that is that the intervals on the scale are not equal tempered. They're actually tuned to, I think it's like the harmonic series or just intonation or something. So really you're going for beatless intervals on every note. And that's different than equal tempered. So in a way, if it is, bagpipe is perfectly tuned, it's actually perfectly in tune. And the notes would not match if you were playing with piano or guitar or other instruments, because you guys are all playing equal temperament where you're sort of right. So I learned that when I recorded my first album up here north of Seattle at Sage Arts, and I did a couple arrangements with piano, and my pipes were totally in tune for what I wanted, and then the piano of course was in tune, and then we put it together. Certain notes sound a little bit dissonant, and it's just that distance between some of the bagpipe notes are really quite off of that equal temperament, so they clash a little bit. So
So your notes, like just for an example, like if you're taking middle C, these are true intervals.
Right. Exactly. And the reason for that is because of the drone. So the drone is like having a reference pitch that's playing all the time, and if that note, if a Chandler note is just played on its own, you sort of, maybe you can hear it if you have perfect pitch, if it's in or if it's really perfect or not. But when you have that reference pitch of the drone, it's really obvious if you hear those beats. Yeah, it's really interesting. Like for example, one of them is like the G, which is the seventh. One of the things about the bagpipe scale is it's a flattened seventh. It's a Mixolydian scale, so it's a flattened seventh. But on top of that, the seventh note is actually quite a bit flatter than you would tune it if you're on an equal tempered instrument. So it's a lot flatter. But that also is what gives it that G note, gives it that Celtic kind of ancient sound. Sometimes you hear a tune, you go, not on the bagpipes, you go, wow, that sounds really Scottish or Irish or Celtic. And sure enough, it's because it's got that flattened seventh in it.
Yeah. I've always considered bagpipe to be a very, very purist instrument. Probably that's the reason I'm thinking why Roland has never made a MIDI bagpipe, or maybe they have. But
Yamaha, I've not seen a Yamaha bagpipe yet.
There are some electric pipes out there. An advantage for the piper, and particularly for the people who live with the piper, is that you can plug your headphones in and practice, right?
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, listen, speaking of living with the piper, I want to bring in Miss Dr. Aaron Lincoln is in our green room here, who is also a big fan of Jori's. And there he is, Dr. Lincoln. How are you, Doctor?
What's up, guys?
Doctor?
Hey, Doctor.
Doctor?
Man, when I saw when I saw that you were going to be on, man, I couldn't stay away. So St. Paddy's Day, pipes. I poured a glass of Jameson, and I'm ready to go here, man. I love the Amazing Grace, man. When I tuned in, my son was actually just getting out of the shower, and he calls in from the bathroom. He says, "Who's playing Amazing Grace?" That's great.
Now we know.
Well, how are y'all doing, man? It's good to see everybody's smiling faces.
You too. You too. Look at all that music behind you.
Oh yeah, painful. Yeah. I've been staying busy. I'm doing There's this great piano player from Romania. This guy's name is Zoran Slot. He's a Yamaha artist, and he does this thing called the International Big Band, and he has a full big band representing like it's like, what was it, like 11 or 12 different countries around the world, and I'm the Barry player for this band, and this is the new project coming along here. It's this tune, and it's got a few tricky little lines in it. So I was woodshedding that about an hour ago.
Yeah, the boy.
Yeah.
Oh boy, nothing wrong with a good woodshed.
No, that's good for you.
Hey, Jori, when you go to practice on the bagpipe, what is a woodshedding scenario for you? I mean, what are the types of things on your instrument that you constantly?
Yeah,
working
so I mean, you think there's only 9 notes. How hard could it be, right? But there's a lot of technical, intricate stuff. So what we lack in range on the pipes, we make up for with really fast, intricate rhythms. And then there's just these ornamentations, and Aaron knows a little bit about this. I mean, there's just these ornamentations that are just all throughout the music. And if you're doing what I've been, doing for the last 30 years, which is wanting to win competitions, you just really have to be, first of all, note perfect. And then it just has to be really, really pristine in terms of the technique. I imagine it's like that in any sort of top level musical competition. So I'm working on my tunes. I'm, trying to play stuff on the pipes because there's a physical conditioning component to playing the pipes. Make sure my pipes are sounding good and my reeds are good and all my equipment is good. And then just working my way through my tunes and just troubleshooting, trying to find tricky spots where there's a little bit of a unsteadiness in the tempo or the timing, and just working that stuff. It's kind of there's some kind of, I forget what the name of that, like a Pareto principle or something, but like 20% of the tune takes 80% of the work. And there might be like 1% of the tune that takes a huge amount of the work. Just, once the low hanging fruit is gone, there's always going to be a harder part of the tune, which is maybe something you haven't seen before, maybe just a little bit of a weak spot in your technique, and just hammering it and just doing it.
Well, Jori, you talk about the rhythmic aspect of it, and I'm not sure if you guys covered this earlier in the show, but Jori came up with a metronome app called the Piper's Metronome, and it's specifically designed for helping pipers, like jigs and reels and all these different types of styles that the pipers want to play for competitions. And the metronome is specifically set up for helping pipers improve their timing, right? Like anyway, there's cool features on it that you don't find just in a normal metronome. So if there's any pipers watching this show out there, you guys should check out the Piper's Metronome. It's super cool. Super cool.
Thanks, Aaron. Thanks for the plug.
Oh, anytime.
The first time I was in the recording studio, we were doing some stuff with and without a click track, and then we did for the first time with the click track, and it was my first time doing that with the headphones on in the studio. And then the producers, the guys in there were like, "Wow, you're really good at that." And I said, "That's what we do, man. That is what we do. You grow up from day one, just getting really locked into that timing and that tempo. It's just so important in piping."
Well, do you think it comes from the marching element of it, man? Like pipe and drum bands, right? Marching along. So it's
absolutely. I mean, there's that military marching tradition, and we have a lot of marches as a big part of our repertoire. But then there's also all these dance tunes. Some of the tunes you mentioned, jigs and hornpipes and strass bass and reels, faster, different types of time signatures, but it's very rhythmic, right? And and then that's just playing on your own. If you're going to play in a pipe band, say you're playing with 25 other pipers, and you got the drummers behind you, it's like you got to be able to just lock in to to what's happening in the circle. Really, the key word in a pipe band is unison, because you got all these pipers, they're all playing the same thing, and you want to sound like one big bagpiper. And the same thing in the back end with the drummers. They got the snare line, and they're all trying to just sound like one snare drummer. So that type of unison can really only be achieved with just really good control of your timing.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Something we spend a lot of time on. Yeah.
Hey, I've got another video I want to show real quick here, and this is a solo piece of you playing that we pulled off of that you sent us here, Jori. Can you help us set it up or what it's about?
Is this the one I'm sort of on a stage wearing the kilt?
Yes.
Yeah, so this was actually near Seattle at the Kirkland Performance Center.
Yeah.
And one of the local bands here, the Keith Highlanders Pipe Band, that I've been coaching them for many years. They used to do an annual concert there, and I got a little solo spot. And, I think we'd do 3 nights there and sell out 3 nights and just to get a great crowd. And always fun for me because I do a lot of traveling to do a show kind of on my home turf. Invite my
Yeah, at
friends.
home. Yeah, and it's a beautiful hall. I've played it many times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, here it is. Check this out. This is Jori playing solo bagpipes. Piping.
Yikes.
Thanks, guys.
Man,
That is so good.
jeez. Give me
Piper
a-
rockin'.
Isn't YouTube amazing? Stuff it just lives for forever.
Oh,
Yeah.
my
Amazing.
goodness.
Incredible. Hey,
Yeah.
you know what? We were able to talk a little bit during that, and I asked a question, but I think there might be some listeners that might also be wondering the origin. We were talking about that, and you said possibly the Middle East.
I mean, I'm thinking nobody knows for sure the origins of the bagpipes, like the drum or a lot of instruments. It's just lost in the mists of time, but it's got to be somewhere in the Middle East. There's an instrument which is very, very interesting. It's from Sardinia, and I'm going to mispronounce it, but I think it's something like lonedas, and it looks like bagpipes without the bag. And you can look this up on YouTube. And it's a one or two chanter pipes and 2 or 3 drone pipes, and the player puts them all in their mouth and plays continuously through circular breathing, and it's an amazing sound. It's a very reedy, ancient sound, and they have this tradition of playing of this instrument that goes back hundreds, if not thousands, of years. And you can just imagine somebody looking at that and then maybe looking at a leather water bag that they're carrying and going, hey, maybe I can stick it in here and I wouldn't have to put all this stuff in my mouth and I could play longer and I wouldn't get so winded. So you can imagine that, I don't know if bagpipes were invented by one really smart shepherd who was looking for something interesting to do, or if it evolved in more than one place. But it seems like it's a really cool innovation. And I think what's cool about the Highland pipes is the idea they're so loud, and that if you were to go back several hundred years in Scotland, there would be nothing else like it on the sort of auditory landscape of having this loud, continuous musical sound. This is before machines and motors and any kind of loud or continuous sound. So
Well, they were used for warfare for a long time, weren't they, in Scotland?
Yep. Definitely a part, in the clan system. It was an integral part of their clan societies, and every clan would have their own pipers, and they had their own tunes, and they would use them for communication in the Highlands. And then, in the last couple hundred years, as part of the Scottish regiments. And that system it's still, it's different today, but it still exists. And the army pipers in Scotland have a very long and proud tradition, and they're still active.
Man.
Do you do a lot of clinic work, schools, education?
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing most of it just on my own, teaching through my website and teaching on my own, but I travel around and give workshops. The last trip I was on was over a year ago. I was teaching a workshop for some pipers up in Alaska. But, sort of a thing that pipers do is they'll get their private lessons, or maybe they'll get lessons in a local pipe band, but then they'll go to summer schools and they'll do a week-long camp somewhere kind of thing, or they'll do a weekend workshop. And bands will bring me in, they'll fly me in for a couple of days, and we'll do a workshop and then put on a little recital. And I get a lot out of it. I always find that it's really interesting meeting pipers from different parts of the world. And you probably find this in your music that you play. It's like the same things that pipers are working on. Doesn't matter where they are. It's like the same challenges, working on the same tunes, trying to figure out the same stuff with their pipes and their fingers. So it's a really cool way to see the world and meet new people.
I would think just such a great introduction to that instrument. Because, I mean, it's not like a bass or a drum or a guitar. It's something you don't see, quite as often. But, man, it would be so great. I would have loved to have seen something like this in high school or in college.
Yeah.
Someone come in and it's like, hey, by the way, here's this thing. Here's how it works. Here's the mechanics of it. And, I mean, it really is fascinating.
I think my first introduction was... Oh, go ahead, Jori.
I was going to say, I think a lot of people have a story like that. So certainly there are pipers who it's in their family. Like for my kids, they're sort of like born into it. But for a lot of pipers who are the first piper in their lineage, they have a story like, I was at a wedding, or I was at my grandfather's funeral, or we were at the parade. For me, I was growing up in Portland, got the Rose Parade, and there's a pipe band, and something, it just captures you. And I think there's something, it is sort of off of the sort of the normal path that for some people, and certainly was the case for me, that it just just grabbed me. And
Mine
here I
growing
am.
up in Seattle was the Seattle Police Guild's Piper Band.
Mhm.
I don't know if you do any work with those guys at all.
Yeah. So yeah, I know a bunch of those guys, and I've taught some of them privately. Since 9/11, there's been a huge, I don't know if it's a rebirth or just a new growth of piping in the various services. And I think it was so prominent and so visible and so such a part of that tragedy was the pipers and the funerals that we all saw on TV, that it became a point of pride for local, for cities and municipalities to have their own pipers. So you've really seen that in the last 20 years. And all over the Seattle area, from Snohomish down to Kitsap, Pierce, King, fire and police. And
Yeah.
it's been a really cool thing.
Our pal John Connors wants to know, what's the bag made of?
Good question. So traditionally it'd be leather. So like cow leather or sheepskin. Sheepskin would probably be the most traditional. Not like the fuzzy sheepskin, but like just leather. I play a hybrid bag, and a hybrid bag has a leather outside and like a synthetic inside, which is a breathable, airtight material. So like Gore-Tex. In fact, they actually make bags out of actual name brand Gore-Tex. And what that means is that the Gore-Tex keeps it airtight and it's breathable, so that the moisture that builds up inside the instrument will dissipate. So some pipers still play the traditional leather bag. I prefer the hybrid bag. Feels great, easy to play, very low maintenance, lasts a long time. So there you go. Best of both worlds.
What's a good set of pipes cost?
I would say for an entry level set, if you wanted to really try to get a good set, but on a budget, probably you'd get in for $1,500 probably. And then a high end set, well, I think the most expensive set that ever sold was like $35,000. But
Wow.
you could get that was a set that belonged to a very famous piper, so that was more of the collectible value. But for a really nice set, top of the line, if you came to me and said, I want the very best pipes that money can buy, yeah, we're probably looking at, some really nice sterling silver that's been hand engraved, maybe $12,000-$13,000. Yeah, we can talk after the show if you're in the market.
No, I figured there'd be a correlation, just like Aaron Sax's or Terry's basses or my guitars. There's certainly the entry level, the working level for those of us that play in the business, and then there is like the collector level of
So my pipes are actually made in this country. They're made outside of Chicago by a guy named Dave Atherton, and they're the best pipes I've ever played. And I've played some very old sets made by famous makers from famous vintages. And these Atherton bagpipes, he just makes them. He's a one of a kind guy in terms of the quality of the materials and the details. So pretty awesome.
Hey, Jori, I have a quick kind of a theory question. You were talking a little earlier, about the chanter being basically, A to A, but it has the extra G there at the bottom, so that it's basically a mixolydian sound. It's A major with the lowered seventh. But, A mixolydian is, if you're thinking key signatures, it's two sharps. So there are other keys that use two sharps, like, for example, B minor or G Lydian, or it's etc. E Dorian. So are there traditional tunes in those other modes, or are they all basically in mixolydian mode?
There are. So pipers don't usually use those terms, but there are tunes that have. I mean, we call them keys, but I think they're actually modes. And it'll have sort of I guess I'm not super comfortable with the terminology there, but there are tunes that, well, first of all, there's the P-Brock tunes. A lot of them are pentatonic. So it'll have like a specific, like these 5 notes, and you just don't have the other notes. So it has a very kind of interesting sound. And then there will be, so for pipers, it's sort of like you get the A, D, F, high A. It has kind of that happy sound to it. and then you get there are A minor tunes that are sort of an implied A minor because they don't have the C. The C is the
Right.
C sharp, but they'll just avoid that note entirely, and then your ear fills it in as being minor.
Yeah.
Then there are other pipe tunes that are particularly heavy on like the B, F, high G thing. But what's interesting about that is that the drone is still on the A. So you get this kind of
Right.
dissonance effect going. And if you listen on that, you know, if you go back and listen to our Amazing Grace happening, like I noticed that drone, like it doesn't always match exactly what's happening with the accompaniment.
Yeah.
So sort of the drone, depending on what's happening with the melody, it can, you know, it adds to the flavor of it too.
It's fascinating, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, there's
It really is.
a lot to unravel there.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, listen, Jori, we got a bunch of people that say hi, including, of course, our pal Nora Spacho and Bob Sky and all sorts of other folks that are sending their best your way. Glad to see you here piping.
Thanks, man.
Listen, I want to thank all you guys for joining us. What a fascinating walk, learning a little bit about the bagpipes, and what better day to do it than I thought than on St. Patrick's Day.
Perfect.
That worked out
So,
great.
Aaron, thank you so much. Say hi to everybody up
Oh,
there
my
in
pleasure.
in the lower bay. And Terry, thank you so much. And thanks for all the work on the video this week, too, brother. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
And Jori,
pleasure.
thank you so much for being our guest this week, man. We hope to get you back soon.
Hey, man, this is really fun. Great to see you guys. Wow.
We'll pick some more
Been
tunes,
great.
and maybe we could even add a baritone sax drone to go along with you. Yeah.
I'm just say the word, man. I'm down.
You know what we need to, I'll tell you what we need to do, Aaron, is when I was listening to Jori playing solo, when he was playing that solo piece, I would love to chart that out, and you and I could reimagine that, harmonize it, and play something
That would be
behind
super cool, man.
that is still, he's doing his thing the way it's supposed to be done, but then we could kind of,
I'm way into stuff like that, man. That sounds really cool.
me too.
You
We'll
took
have,
that
we'll, have to
idea.
get Jori, we'll have to get Jori really drunk on green beer before he's going to agree to this. But today's the day to start, I figured. All right, you guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon. Oh, man. What a treat. What a treat. What a treat. Anyway, thank you guys for all joining us today on this wonderful St. Patrick's Day. Hope you don't drink too much green beer tonight. And make sure that you check out Jori's channel, bagpipelessons.com. For nothing else, it's a fascinating read. He's got all kinds of great information and cool pics and great videos to check out. It's just the best way to go. I want to thank the lovely Masoni here, who is not drinking green beer, I might add, for helping us out on the show. There it is, bagpipelessons.com. Next week, big week, we've got the one and only Kix Brooks, half of the Brooks and Dunn group, the largest selling duo in country music history. Hall of Famer Kix Brooks is going to be with us next week, and we're going to have all kinds of tunes that Kix has got in store for us and talk about some stories. So we hope you'll help spread the word and help us get some folks checking in on our sort of a country swing week next week with the one and only the great Kix Brooks. Anyway, thanks again to Aaron. Thank you to Terry. Thank you to Andy. Thank you to the lovely Masoni. And, of course, our very special guest tonight, Jori Chisholm. Jori, thank you so much. And remember, folks, after you get done with that green beer, things look a little wobbly. Remember just to keep it swinging.